Hi guys, my name is Chef here. So I'm bringing this video today because I've decided to write an open letter to Public Health England. Now why have I done this? Because a study was released by the Hamburg Environmental Institute. This was released a few days ago. It was reported on briefly in the press, links are below. Guys, there are fluorocarbons and formaldehyde on the blue masks, or on masks, shall we say. You can read the report below. It's in German, so stick it in Google Translate if you have to. But for now, what I want you to concentrate on is the reason that I decided to write this letter. I think we've got a problem. I don't think we just have a problem with this. I think there are cheap carbon-based nanotube fibres in these masks that are going to get through and get into our lungs, become lodged and cause problems. Why do I think this? Well, watch this 4-minute clip, and hopefully with everything else I've spoke about in my other videos and these 4 minutes, you'll be as convinced as I am, and we can get Public Health England to finally act on not only this, but the formaldehyde situation and the fluorocarbon situation, which I'll bring you a full video on detailing what they are and the dangers they may bring tomorrow. Roll the tape, guys.
So this is a jar of carbon nanotubes, and for the past 20 years our lab and many other labs around the world have worked on how do you go from this jar that has unstructured nanotubes to something like this, where the nanotubes are laid into continuous fibers and they can be used into applications for electrical conduction, for strength, for thermal conduction, for all intents and purposes. This is a macroscopic fiber. It's made of nanotubes, but it's macroscopic. Depending on the nanotubes we use, we get different fibers. So the properties of this fiber over here are not the same as the properties of this fiber over here. And it turns out that the process for connecting the properties of these nanotubes to this fiber, it's laborious. It can take a month, and it takes a large amount of material. So the question we're trying to answer is which nanotubes make the best fibers?
When we try to develop the highest quality or highest performing carbon nanotube fibers, we want to be able to experiment with the materials that we get from manufacturers very quickly, and sometimes we only receive a small quantity of materials. So this process, the purpose of it is to sort of downscale so we can use smaller quantities of materials from carbon nanotube manufacturers and then speed things up so we can evaluate the properties in a carbon nanotube fiber that we produce much more rapidly so that we can characterize what the optimal performance will be for any given material.
Where are we? Well, it's a matter of properties and it's a matter of cost, which is a great place to be. For properties now, we're within striking distance of metals. In fact, if you take the electrical conductivity of these fibers, you divide it by the density, you have to remember these are very low density materials, they're made of carbon. You have essentially the same properties as copper on a pound per pound or kilo per kilo basis. Yet, to put it in perspective, we're still talking about over an order of magnitude higher costs than high performance carbon fibers, which are still considered specialty premium material. So there's more work to do, but the field is still young. We're only about 25-year-old as a material field, and progress continues to be very.
Scientists and experts are claiming that nanotechnology holds the promise for greater applications, bringing new advances and discoveries in areas like information technology, alternative energy, and health and medicine. It was once believed that asbestos would revolutionize the world. Instead, asbestos turned out to be one of the worst occupational health disasters in U.S. history, causing pulmonary fibrosis, a scarring of the lung tissue, or even mesothelioma, a very rare form of cancer. In this episode of Science in the Triangle, we'll travel over to NC State University to visit Dr. Jamie Bonner to learn more about his research on the potential toxicity of carbon nanotubes.
We're studying how carbon nanotubes affect the lung and whether they cause disease in mice. We want to know how long they stay there after the mice inhale them, or do they get cleared from the lung? Does the lung get rid of them like it would normally inhaled particles?
Carbon nanotubes are long, thin cylinders of carbon, roughly 10,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. These molecular scale tubes are stronger than steel, yet lighter than aluminum, and today they are being developed for use in a variety of consumer products. But under a microscope, carbon nanotubes look similar to asbestos fibers, leading scientists to believe that they could cause similar health problems.
Essentially, carbon nanotubes are shaped like asbestos fibers. Asbestos fibers are very long, needle-like structures compared to most other particles that we inhale in the lung, which are spherical or round, and they're easy to clear from the lung. If I use this sphere here as a nanoparticle that is inhaled into the lung, a macrophage will engulf it and clear it from the lung. Now, if it is a longer type of structure, more like this computer cable, this would be more the dimensions of an asbestos fiber or a nanotube, even though a nanotube would be much thinner. A macrophage attaches to the fiber or the tube now, and it has a very difficult time clearing it and getting it out of the lung.
So, after everything I've seen, everything I've done myself, I'm convinced that these are in there. We definitely know there's a chance that masks are circulating amongst the British public now that contain fluorocarbons and formaldehyde. So I'm not going to get straight into it, guys. This is my open letter to Public Health England. I'm going to read it to you now. So it starts: to Public Health England, my name is Carl Lunnan. I'm writing to you because it is in your mission statement that the following is true. Public Health England's overall mission will be to protect and improve the health and well-being of the population and to reduce inequalities in health and well-being outcomes. I believe there is an immediate risk to the public's health from long-term exposure to wearing face masks containing formaldehyde and fluorocarbons. I, as an investigative journalist, also believe I have found evidence of carbon nanotube fibres in some masks which would become lodged in the lungs of wearers, and the body may not be able to dispel these. I believe this may cause inequality, also due to some companies mandating and supplying these masks for employees. Based off the research detailed below, which I will send to you today, I believe it is in the public's best interest that an immediate investigation is launched into the number of these masks potentially in circulation and the dangers they may pose. Yours sincerely, Carl Lunnan, investigative journalist, on behalf of the general public. This letter will be available to see on my Instagram, guys. Now, if you want a copy, if you want to get involved, if you want your name signing below, let me know. Get this one shared, because go and read the Express's article. I'm going to read it first, but I'm going to bring you a detailed video about the dangers of formaldehyde and these fluorocarbons tomorrow. Till then, guys, I'm one angry chef, and